Welcome. Can you make your entire IDE, your entire workplace to write software ephemeral? Welcome to tSQLt Live DevOps Edition. I created this channel to talk about what DevOps is, how to get started, why it is important, and also some more advanced topics. So no matter where you're at in your DevOps journey, there's going to be something for you in here. And today I would like to look at environment factories. In particular, I would like to look at ways to set up your IDE, your workspace, in a way that is push button. So if you think about the old way of doing things, if you get a new machine, if you sign up for if you get employed by a new company and you get a new laptop, or in general, if you get a new laptop, you have to go through a bunch of steps. The first one is install your IDE. The second one is install languages, install dependency, set up your own IDE preferences, install tools like Git, install your database management system, or at least an access tool for that database management system like SQL Server Management Studio. And with all that comes the question, does your machine even support all that, like installing a SQL Server instance on it? And yes, it is all possible, but it all takes a lot of time. So is there maybe a way to streamline this? That's a question that has been around for a long time. So there are several tools you can look at that help you there. The first step was Workspaces Online. AWS Workspaces is one of the examples. That they basically take your laptop and put it into a virtual machine. So you don't need a powerful laptop anymore. You just need an internet connection and can work from wherever. And those workspaces can be to a degree pre-configured. So the main advantage you get if you get a new laptop, you still have your old workspace. But if you get a new workspace, you still have to go through all those steps. The next step in that iteration then was AWS Cloud 9, which AWS Cloud 9 is actually there to create software development workspaces. And there are some settings that you can set. The premise there is, if you work on multiple projects, you can have one environment for project A and one environment for project B and one environment for project C, and you can switch between those. And they can have, to a degree, different tools. And there are also settings that apply to all of them. So creating a new work environment that is already set up with your preferences is quick in there, but it is not quite what we are looking for. The next thing is local Visual Studio Code dev containers. If you install Docker Desktop on your machine and Visual Studio Code, then you can do all your development in a container. And that happens more or less automatic with Visual Studio Code. So in those containers, you can install all the dependencies that you need. And then if you have two projects that have different dependencies, they run in different containers and they don't interact with each other, so the development becomes cleaner using dev containers. But also not necessarily less work, even though you can start scripting those dev containers. You can design what you want in those dev containers. But there is one step further that you can go, and that is to go to online dev containers. And examples there are Gitpod and GitHub Codespaces. And what's really great about them is with your source code, you can check in a description, description as code there, a description of that workspace. And then you can go to GitHub, click a button, and it spins up a fully featured, ready to go IDE in your browser. So you don't need to set up anything anymore on your computer. You open a browser, you click a button, and you're ready to go. And everybody in your company has the same experience. And so onboarding becomes really simple. And I would like to show you what that looks like. So let's see if we can make that happen here. This is a example that Microsoft published to show how to use these online containers with GitHub. So within GitHub, within your repository, you have a dev container description. And if you do that, if you set that up correctly, then your repository gets this button here. And if you click on open a code space, it opens up the GitHub. It creates a new GitHub code space for you. And that GitHub code space is a container, so it takes a minute to create. It found the image. The image is in your, let me go back here. The image is in that dev container folder, the description of that image. So it builds a container, it downloads dependencies and installs them. And well, it takes a minute or two to make that happen. Sometimes it's very fast, sometimes it takes a while. That's dependent on the cache situation. And then it opens up something that is basically Visual Studio Code, but in your browser. And the nice thing about that is it's not only an IDE. So not only can you open your code here, let's open the server file here. Not only can you open your code here, but you can also run it. You go over here to run and click the run button. Now what it does is it sets up everything you need to run your code in that same remote container. And it automatically forwards all the ports. So I can now click here on open in browser and it connects to the web server through a forwarded port that we just created. So let's go back here. If we stop this and make a change to this, remote word in a container, and then start it up again. And refresh here. We have that change directly there. So working with code in this type of environment becomes very easy. And there are even ways to include a database instance in those containers, but that is topic of another episode of tSQLt Live later. So let's go back to our slides here. The new way, the way I like coding now, is using GitHub code spaces, Gitpod. Gitpod is a competitor product that looks very similar, and it turns installing your machine, it turns onboarding a new employee basically into press button, write code. That is all I had for you today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you liked what you saw and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a fabulous day.